Every time a man and a woman meet, something far deeper than conversation unfolds. It is not just two people exchanging words, not merely a glance or a smile. It is a silent collision of forces, as old as humanity itself. When a man steps toward a woman, she does not simply hear him, she feels him, his energy, his posture, the quiet rhythm of his presence. And almost without choice, her instincts awaken. They build invisible walls, not walls of cruelty, but walls of testing. This is where most men falter. They see resistance as rejection. They mistake hesitation for disinterest, silence for disapproval. They either retreat in defeat or rush forward with desperate effort. Both mistakes reveal the same truth: insecurity. But here's the secret. Resistance is not rejection, it is refinement. It is the fire through which every man must pass if he wishes to be truly seen. Just as iron is tested in the flame, so is a man tested in the presence of feminine instinct. Imagine this: a mountain facing a storm. The storm is wild, fierce, unrelenting, but the mountain does not move. It does not beg the storm to stop. It does not fight against the rain or plead with the wind. It simply stands, rooted, calm, unshakable. And over time, the storm passes, not because the mountain resisted, but because it endured. This is the role of the masculine: to stand steady in the face of resistance, to embody patience when tested, and to prove through silence what words cannot. A woman's hesitation is not meant to destroy. It is a mirror. It reflects back the essence of the man before her. Is he grounded, or does he crumble? Is he calm, or does he grasp? Does he radiate security, or does he thirst for approval? Those who collapse under this weight prove themselves unready. But the man who carries calm authority, who does not chase, who does not force, who does not flinch, reveals something rare, something real. And that reality softens resistance, not because she surrenders, but because she recognizes truth. This is not manipulation. This is not a trick. This is human psychology written in our blood through centuries of survival. Women, for thousands of years, carried the burden of choosing carefully. Their future, their safety, their very survival once depended on whether the man before them could stand strong through hardship. That instinct has not disappeared. It lives in the silence. It lives in the subtle tests. It lives in the way she hesitates, waits, and watches. And this is where most men misunderstand. They see resistance as a wall meant to block them, but in truth, it is an invitation, a chance to reveal depth, a call to rise higher. Think of resistance as fire. Fire does not destroy the gold. It removes the impurities. Fire does not weaken iron. It strengthens it. In the same way, resistance burns away shallowness, exposing whether a man is hollow or whole. This is why desperation fails. This is why anger destroys trust. But calm is power. Patience is strength. Presence is authority. And when a man embodies these, something extraordinary happens. The resistance does not vanish because it was conquered. It softens because it has nothing left to fight. Fear gives way to curiosity. Curiosity grows into trust, and trust in time blooms into connection. But here's the hard truth. Very few men ever walk this path. Many are so desperate to prove themselves, so eager to be accepted, that they betray themselves before the dance even begins. They drown in their own insecurity, never realizing that the only way through resistance is not to fight it, but to become immovable within it. The woman does not ask for perfection. She does not seek a flawless performance of charm and words. What she looks for is steadiness. A man who is not ruled by the storm around him. A man who is not enslaved by the silence between them. A man who is whole, whether she opens the door or not. This is why the dance of attraction is never about victory. It is not about conquering her, convincing her, or bending her will. It is about harmony. Two forces meeting. The river testing the mountain, the storm shaping the stone, the feminine seeking proof that the masculine is what it claims to be. And when the proof is found, not in words, not in bravado, but in calm, unshakable presence, resistance transforms. What was once a shield becomes a doorway. What was once hesitation becomes trust. This is the beginning of something real, and it is here, in the silent fire of resistance, that the true story begins. Chapter 2: The Silent Test. Every man who has ever stood before a woman knows this moment. The conversation slows. A pause stretches longer than expected. Her eyes wander, her words soften, or she simply waits. At first, it seems like nothing, just silence. But make no mistake, this is not emptiness. This is the silent test. Most men panic here. They feel the weight of that pause pressing down on their chest. Their mind races. Should I say something? Should I make her laugh? Did I do something wrong? And in their rush to fill the silence, they reveal exactly what she was waiting to see: nervousness, insecurity, a desperate need for approval. But the man who understands human nature does not collapse in that silence. He embraces it. He breathes deeply and remains steady, just as a mountain remains unmoved by passing clouds. His presence speaks louder than words ever could. He is not shaken. He is not hurried. He is simply there. Why is silence so powerful? Because it strips away the mask. Anyone can play confident when the conversation flows, when the energy is light, when laughter fills the air. But silence is the mirror of truth. In that space where no words exist, the essence of a man reveals itself. If he fidgets, she sees weakness. If he grows angry, she feels insecurity. If he tries to force connection, she senses desperation. But if he stands calm, if he lets the silence live, unhurried and unbroken, then she feels something else: certainty. And certainty is magnetic. Think of history. For thousands of years, women relied on their ability to sense the strength of a man, not just in his body, but in his spirit, because choosing poorly could mean danger, instability, even death. That instinct never disappeared. It lives on, buried in the subconscious. And so, when a woman pauses, when she withdraws just slightly, when she creates a moment of quiet, it is not rejection. It is instinct. It is her way of asking, "Are you real? Can I trust you?" This is not cruelty. This is survival encoded in psychology. And here lies the paradox. The man who tries hardest to prove himself always fails the test. The one who needs her approval cannot hold the silence. But the man who is already whole, who carries within him a calm fire, passes the test without effort. It is not that he ignores her. It is not that he plays games. It is that his stillness reveals he does not need to perform. He does not need to win. He does not need to chase. He is enough in himself. And that quiet confidence is what softens resistance. Picture two men. The first grows restless. He cracks a joke too quickly, trying to fill the air. He leans forward, searching for validation in her eyes. She may smile politely, but inside, she feels the truth. He cannot hold himself together when faced with pressure. The second man, however, remains composed. He is not cold or distant. His presence is warm, alive, but he does not rush. He does not scramble to impress. He lets the silence exist, knowing that strength is not in forcing words, but in carrying weight without collapse. In that moment, something shifts. Her resistance, once sharp, begins to soften, not because she was convinced, but because she felt his essence. This is why calm presence is the greatest form of persuasion. Words can be memorized, gestures can be faked, but presence cannot be imitated. It is the sum of who you are, built through discipline, patience, and self-mastery. It is the unshakable energy you bring into every room, every conversation, every pause. And this is why the silent test matters so deeply. Because anyone can shine in easy moments, but only the grounded man shines in pressure. Only the unshaken man shines in silence. So the question becomes, how do you build this presence? How do you become the man who welcomes silence instead of fearing it? The answer lies not in learning new tricks, but in transforming your inner foundation. It begins with discipline, training yourself to remain calm when your emotions want to take control. It continues with patience, resisting the urge to rush, to force, to chase. And it deepens with self-awareness, the willingness to face your own insecurities and conquer them instead of masking them with charm. Over time, this work creates something rare, an aura, a calm weight that cannot be denied. When you walk into a room, people feel it before you even speak. When silence falls, you do not shrink. You expand. You let the world bend around your steadiness. And this is why the silent test, though small on the surface, is monumental in truth. Because it is not about her, it is about you. It is the universe asking, have you built yourself strong enough to hold the weight of presence? If the answer is yes, resistance fades, not in defeat, but in trust. She does not lower her guard because she was convinced, but because she no longer needs it. And that, more than any clever line or smooth performance, is what begins the real dance. The mountain does not fear the storm. The storm proves the mountain's strength. Chapter 3. The Power of the Masculine Frame. Every man carries something invisible with him. Call it energy, call it atmosphere, call it a frame. But whatever you name it, it defines how the world responds to him. Most men never realize this. They walk into a room waiting for others to set the tone. They adapt to the moods of those around them, adjusting their words, their posture, even their identity just to fit in. They live inside someone else's frame, and because of this, they are forgettable. But a man who has built his own frame, his own inner reality, cannot be ignored. When he steps into a room, the energy shifts. People feel pulled into his orbit, not because he forces them, but because his presence is undeniable. He does not bend into someone else's world, he draws others into his. This is the masculine frame. It is not arrogance, it is not domination, it is not the loudest voice or the most aggressive stance. The true masculine frame is calm authority, quiet certainty, a presence so rooted in clarity that others naturally align with it. A woman senses this instantly. When she encounters a man without a frame, she knows it. His energy wavers with her moods. His words change to chase her approval. His decisions bend like grass in the wind. And though he may try to impress her, his instability creates no trust, no magnetism. But when she meets a man with a strong frame, something shifts. She feels herself stepping into a reality more stable than her own. His calm becomes her calm. His certainty becomes her ground. The storms of doubt fade when a mountain of steadiness stands before her. This is why resistance softens around a man with a frame. Not because he forces her, not because he outsmarts her, but because he carries something immovable. He does not collapse under pressure, and that steadiness creates trust. But here's the truth. A frame cannot be faked. You cannot borrow it from someone else's advice, nor can you pretend to have it by putting on a mask of confidence. A weak foundation always reveals itself in the silent tests. The masculine frame must be built. It is built through discipline, the discipline to keep promises to yourself, to stay consistent even when no one is watching. It is built through vision, the clarity of knowing where you are going, what you want, and what you stand for. And it is built through principles, the unshakable values that keep you rooted when everything else tries to sway you. Without these, a man's presence is hollow. With them, his presence is undeniable. Think of great leaders, ancient or modern. They did not need to shout to command attention. Their frame, who they were, and what they stood for was enough to draw respect. People followed not because they were forced, but because they trusted the steadiness of their presence. And so, it is an attraction. A woman does not test a man simply to play games. She tests because her instinct demands it. She wants to know, does this man carry a reality strong enough to hold me? Can I trust his direction? Will his strength steady me when my own storms rise? If the answer is no, resistance remains. If the answer is yes, resistance transforms into curiosity, into respect, into desire. But let us be clear, the frame is not about control. It is not about bending others to your will. It is about mastering yourself so completely that others feel safe within your steadiness. You do not need to dominate. You do not need to prove. You simply are, and that reality becomes magnetic. This is why men who lack a frame stumble. They either overcompensate with arrogance, raising their voice, forcing their presence, trying too hard, or they shrink into neediness, chasing validation at every turn. Both reveal instability, both collapse under the silent test. But the man with a frame moves differently. He does not chase approval because his value is not borrowed from others. He does not waver under resistance because he is rooted in himself. And so he leads, not with force, but with gravity. And here lies the paradox. When you no longer need to be chosen, you become irresistible. When you no longer chase validation, you command respect. When your frame is strong enough to stand alone, others naturally want to step inside it. This is why the masculine frame is not about confidence for show. It is not about clever lines or perfect timing. It is about living truth, the truth of who you are, built through discipline, vision, and principle. And once you carry this truth, resistance is no longer an enemy. It is no longer something to fight. Instead, it becomes the stage upon which your strength reveals itself. For the storm does not break the mountain. It only proves that the mountain stands. Chapter 4. The Strategic Mind and the Poetry of Mystery. Life itself is a game of timing. Nature has always moved this way. A seed planted in winter will not sprout, no matter how much water it receives. But the same seed planted in spring flourishes with little effort. The hunter who strikes too early misses his prey. The one who waits too long starves. Strategy is not about control, it is about alignment with rhythm. Yet most men live impulsively. They rush when they should pause. They hesitate when they should move. They force when they should flow. And in doing so, they create resistance where patience could have dissolved it. A woman's resistance is not an enemy to fight. It is not a wall to crash through. It is more like water pressing against stone, steady, natural, necessary. If you push harder against it, it grows stronger. But if you flow with patience, with timing, with subtle awareness, the water begins to shape itself around you. This is the heart of the strategic mind. It is not manipulation. It is not trickery. True strategy is awareness, the ability to sense shifts in energy before they are spoken, to act with patience instead of desperation, to lean forward when the moment is open, and to lean back when it is closed. Think of water shaping rock. It does not force. It does not rush. It simply persists with precision, and in time, even stone surrenders to its flow. The man with a strategic mind understands this. He knows when to speak and when to be silent. He knows that sometimes the most powerful action is no action at all. He knows that timing, more than words, more than effort, is what creates trust. But there is another dimension here, one that many forget: mystery. Since the beginning of time, what cannot be fully known has always drawn the human heart. Explorers were pulled across oceans, not by what they understood, but by what remained hidden. Poets chased stars, not because they could touch them, but because they were unreachable. Mystery ignites imagination, and imagination deepens attraction. Yet so many men destroy mystery too soon. They reveal everything at once, pouring out their stories, their feelings, their entire being before the other person has even asked to see it. They strip themselves of depth, leaving nothing left to wonder about. Curiosity dies when there are no hidden corners to explore. The man who understands mystery does not hide. He does not play games. He does not pretend. Instead, he carries himself with such inner richness that no single conversation, no single moment can ever capture all of him. He lives as an ocean, his surface visible, but his true depth endless. This is not vagueness. This is not manipulation. It is simply holding back enough space for discovery. Every word, every glance, every silence hints at something more, something beyond reach. And this is what keeps resistance softening, because curiosity is stronger than fear. A woman resists when she feels there is nothing left to discover, when all she sees is performance without substance. But when she senses depth, when she feels that there are layers yet unseen, her instinct begins to lean forward, step by step. Not because she was pushed, but because she wants to know more. Mystery creates space. Space creates attraction. Attraction creates trust. But remember, mystery cannot be fabricated. It cannot be a mask. It must come from living with true inner richness, building yourself in such a way that no single meeting can reveal the whole. This is why discipline, vision, and growth matter. The deeper you are, the more naturally mysterious you become. And so the strategic man walks with patience and with silence. He lets his presence speak when words cannot. He allows space to breathe, and in that space, curiosity is born. This is why resistance fades, not through force, not through pressure, but through timing and mystery. A push creates a wall. A pause opens a door. The man who lacks strategy stumbles. He pushes when he should wait. He waits when he should move. He speaks when silence is powerful, and he is silent when action is needed. His lack of timing creates distrust. His lack of mystery creates boredom. But the man with strategy flows. His movements feel effortless, almost inevitable, because they are aligned with the rhythm of nature itself. He does not control others. He masters himself. And in that mastery, the world aligns with him. The same is true of mystery. When you stop trying to be impressive, when you stop over-explaining, when you stop giving everything too quickly, you become a horizon, always visible but never fully reached, always present yet always holding something more. This is why women lean toward mystery, not because they want confusion, but because curiosity is one of the strongest forces in the human heart. What remains unseen invites discovery. What remains unexplained keeps the story alive. And so, strategy and mystery walk together. One teaches you when to move, the other teaches you how to hold space. Together they create something unshakable, attraction built not on force but on patience, not on pressure but on depth. Resistance is not destroyed by aggression, it is softened by precision. It is not overcome by force, it dissolves before awareness. And when a man learns this rhythm, resistance is no longer an obstacle. It becomes a mirror, a stage for his patience, his mystery, his presence to reveal themselves. For the stone is not broken by water, it is shaped by it. Chapter 5: The Stoic Fire Within and the Path Beyond Resistance. Every man carries a flame inside him. For some, it burns recklessly, wild, uncontrolled, consuming everything around it before dying out too soon. For others, it barely flickers, weak, fragile, extinguished by the smallest wind. But for a rare few, this fire is different. It is steady, quiet, enduring. It is not the fire of chaos, but of discipline. It is not the fire that shouts, but the one that glows through the long night. This is the stoic fire within. A man who masters this inner flame does not eliminate emotions. He feels fear, temptation, anger, desire, just like anyone else. The difference is this: he is not ruled by them. He governs himself. He holds steady no matter how violent the storm outside or how loud the whispers inside. This is what makes him unshakable. And this is why resistance cannot survive near him. Chaos collapses in the presence of calm. Uncertainty dissolves in the presence of stability. A woman does not want a man who never struggles. She wants a man who does not break when struggles come. She wants to feel that no matter how fierce the storm, his foundation will hold. This is the man who passes through resistance, not because he forced it, not because he tricked it, but because his steadiness made resistance unnecessary. His strength is not in domination, but in stability. His authority is not in arrogance, but in calm. But here lies the truth no one wants to face. This fire is not given at birth. It must be built. It is built in silence, when you train yourself to hold steady instead of rushing to fill the void. It is built in discipline, when you resist the easy comfort that weakens you. It is built in patience, when the world demands speed, but you choose stillness. It is built in integrity, when no one is watching but you do the hard thing anyway. Each act, each choice, each test, faced with calm, adds wood to the fire, and slowly, steadily, you become something rare. Not the loud flame that burns out quickly, but the steady fire that warms the room, that draws others without demanding, that inspires trust without asking. And this is the path beyond resistance. Because resistance was never about rejection. It was never cruelty. It was instinct. It was the feminine shield asking, can I trust this man? Can he hold himself steady? Can he carry me through storms without collapsing? When the answer is yes, her guard does not crumble. It lowers itself. Not because she lost, but because she feels safe enough to let it go. And this is where the real connection begins. Beyond resistance, there is not conquest. There is harmony. There is not victory. There is trust. When she feels his calm presence, she no longer needs to test. When she feels his strength without cruelty, his authority without arrogance, his presence without need, her instinct tells her, this is real, this is rare, this is safe. And here lies the paradox that defines the entire dance. You do not break resistance by fighting it. You transcend resistance by embodying the man who no longer triggers it. This is why desperation fails. This is why arrogance crumbles. But patience, calm, presence, these build something that cannot be denied, something that softens what force could never move. So the question is not, how do I convince her? The question is, have I built myself into the man who requires no convincing? The path is not easy. Few walk it because it demands more than words or charm. It demands self-mastery. It demands the courage to face your own weakness, to conquer yourself before you ever hope to connect with another. But for the men who do, the reward is profound. Beyond resistance lies not just attraction, not just trust, but something far greater, respect. And with respect comes the possibility of true connection, one that does not collapse at the first storm, but endures, like the mountain against the wind. For in the end, resistance was never the enemy. It was the test. the fire that revealed what was false and refined what was true. And the man who passes through it does not emerge victorious over her, he emerges victorious over himself. The storm does not destroy the mountain, the storm reveals the mountain's strength. And so, if these words strike something deep inside you, if you feel the echo of truth in your own life, then understand this. The path is open to you. Build your frame, guard your fire, master your silence, carry yourself with calm presence. Do this, and you will discover what few ever do. Resistance is not the end of the story. It is the doorway to something far greater.